All right, hey everybody. My name is Joel Pitney. I'm the founder of Launch My Book, and I am very excited for this video interview today. We have Michael Larsen, who to me is a legend in the writing industry. Um, Michael is probably best known for this really awesome book here, and I know I'm holding up an old edition with an old cover, but this book is called How to Write a Book Proposal. It was recommended to me by a friend when I was in the process of writing a book proposal, and I read it, as you can tell, cover to cover, and I implemented all the advice that he put in here, and I got a book deal, which was really
Yes.
cool. And so I'm sure he's heard thousands of stories like that over the years. Um, and so I also had a chance to meet Michael at the San Francisco Writers Conference, which is a conference that he founded. What year was that, Michael?
70, I'm sorry, 2003.
2003. Started the San Francisco Writer Conference, which has become one of the longest running and sort of most well-known writers conferences in the country, if not the world. It was my first time attending the event, and I got to meet Michael. And so um, I asked him to come on the show and share some of his wisdom with everybody. Before we dive in, I want to say a few more things about Michael. He's not only the author of How to Write a Book Proposal. I'm going to read here a little bit. So he also wrote a book called How to Get a Literary Agent, now in its third edition. He wrote Guerrilla Marketing for Writers, 100 Weapons for Selling Your Work. And he also wrote the Worry Bead book, the world's oldest and easiest ways to beat stress. So that's kind of what he's done on the writing advice nonfiction side. Then also, it looks like you've also written a series of, with your late wife Elizabeth, co-authored the Painted Lady series about Victorian houses, um, and done a lot of other cool things. And when Michael sent me his bio, which I've just sort of read from a little bit before the author interview, there's one thing that really stuck out to me. He His first line is, he's an author coach who loves helping writers reach their goals by adding value to their readers' lives. He's especially eager to offer free consulting to writers about books for change. And that stuck out to me because Michael I can just tell by how he is. He's so generous with his advice. He's had this illustrious career as a writer and a writing coach and a literary agent and all these different things. And yet he gives so much of his life to help people, big and small, beginners to advance, to achieve their dreams of writing, becoming professional writers and having a career in writing. So I am absolutely thrilled to have him on the show. So
Thank you. It's great to
welcome,
be here.
Michael.
Thank you for asking me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think I should leave now while we're ahead.
Oh yeah, that's great. So I've got a few questions, and I kind of want to just pick your brain about a few things, but I kind of want to start big. And the thing that really, when you and I spoke a few weeks ago at the writers conference, you said something that really caught my eye. And so, Michael, you are someone who has made a career of helping people to get book deals with traditional publishers. People can read your book, learn how to write a book proposal, learn how to query an agent, learn how to approach publishers and actually get a traditional publisher to publish their book. And yet, when you and I were talking, you were saying that you think the future of publishing is more along the self-publishing route. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, A, did I get that wrong? And B, if I did get it right, I want to know a little bit more about why you feel that way.
Okay, well, not at the heart of my belief is the fact that now is the best time ever to be a writer. And one of the many reasons for that is it's easier and faster to get your work done yourself. Um, Big publishers are having significant problems with new writers. They're so large that it's really difficult for new writers to break in, certainly with one of the big five. It's easier with medium-sized houses, and the smaller the house, the easier it is to get published. But there's a limit to what publishers can do. Any size house, certainly with a new book. I mean, most new books do not sell by first-time authors. That just doesn't happen. One of the key elements to keep in mind is that it takes 3 books to build an audience for your work. So you've got to keep writing books that sell each other, it's a series of standalone books, related books that sell each other. That's a key piece. It's becoming easier and easier to control every aspect of the business, the editorial aspect, the publishing aspect, and the selling books directly to readers. And I think that's the future. It's author as publisher, where you control it all, control all the rights, and you build a career by owning everything, by owning the media you use, by owning your own website and with your name on it, by owning a podcast, your videos, blog, whatever you do. So it's all yours, and you're continually harvesting email addresses. And that's a
Mm,
really powerful thing. So you're controlling your audience. And
hmm
that's the two fundamental things writers need to do to succeed today are first, write books that readers love. And we can talk about how to make sure that happens. Write books that readers love. And then be as devoted to their readers as they are to their writing.
mm, mm,
That's the crucial piece, serving your readers as many ways as you can, online and off.
hmm
Um, so that's a start on the subject.
No, that's great. That's great. And there's so much in that. And I guess, I guess what value, you're saying it's getting harder and harder for writers to break into the publishing world, traditional publishing world, with the big publishing houses.
Right.
Is there still, I guess, if you're someone who's starting off as a writer and you may not have a big platform yet, you may not have harvested that, generated and grown that audience of
Right.
readers.
Right.
What pathway do you think is preferable for someone? Do you think it's to go out there and focus first on building that audience? Um,
Yeah.
or do you think there's still value in trying to get the publishing deal? How do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I think it's important. Again, the key piece here is books that readers love, and being devoted to your readers. So you have to build a community of readers.
Okay.
That's not something a publisher can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do it yourself. But it's a lifetime investment in your career. If you're writing books that your readers love, they're with you forever as long as you keep writing them. Even
Mm,
if you have to change, segue, maybe write something a little bit different, you'll bring your readers with you.
mm,
So I mean that's just building this community of readers is essential, and you do that with small work. When you're starting up your career, you can write either short stories or articles or do a blog or podcast. Again, one of the many reasons why now is the best time ever to be a writer is that there's more ways to reach people than ever for free around the world.
mm,
Oh, and that's one way to have that perspective. You're writing really because of the internet. You're writing for a world of readers. 5.5 billion people are connected online. Not all of
mm,
them speaking English, but we're also in the age of instant translation.
mm-hmm,
So that's also happening. So
mm-hmm,
it's about building community, and that's part of the investment you make in your career.
mm. Well, that's interesting. I mean, when I talk to people, I talk to a lot of aspiring, people who are first time writers. They come to me asking for advice, and I tend to think I tell them it's funny whether you're going traditional publishing or self-publishing. I kind of feel like the pathway's still the same. You have to build an audience. You
Yeah.
can't you can't just think, "Oh, I'm going to self-publish and hope that
No.
it'll get discovered." And you need to grow that audience. And if you want to go traditional publishing, in most cases, it's going to be publishers are less and less likely to give deals to people who don't bring in their own audience of readers, right? So
Well,
one
again,
way or the other, you have to start building a community.
sure,
But
no
anyway,
question. Right. No,
yeah.
well, but it depends also on it depends on a couple of things, goals and the kind of book you're writing. For example, the smaller the house you'll be happy with, the easier it is to get published. So small houses are mission driven, and there's a whole mood. The literary landscape is being reseeded by small, independent, mission driven, diverse publishers empowered by technology.
Mm,
And they're easier to reach the whole world of them online, offline as well.
mm,
This is amazing. I mean, it's happening. Publishing is becoming decentralized. So there's
mm,
more ways to get published than ever.
mm,
And so you need to be clear about what your publishing goals are. Ideally, you want the best possible editor, publisher, and deal if you're going to have a publisher. And depending on the author and the book, that might very well be a small house.
mm,
But goals are extremely important. I mean,
mm,
having clear literary goals, what you want to achieve with your writing, publishing goals, what you want to happen with your books, and also personal goals, that they're in harmony and there's balance there.
mm,
These are all important, and being clear about those.
mm.
Your goals determine what you write and how you write it and how you promote it.
Mm.
I mean, if you want to be a best-selling author, then the only kind of book you can write is bestseller. So that's pretty straightforward. You just find out, there's more ways to learn what you need to know than ever. I mean, writers can learn from published writers in their field what they do and how they do it. It's all out there. That's one of the great things about it. They all have websites. You can see what they're doing. You can build relationships with them.
Mm.
So this is all wonderful. So
That's great. That's great. And I wanted to kind of zero in on something you said earlier, which is something that I remember from the conversation you and I had together. You talk about that it takes 3 books to succeed.
yeah,
And I love that, because I feel like whether or not it's technically true, and my guess is it is, it changes an author's mindset to be thinking long term and not short term, which I
yeah,
think is really important. A lot of people I talk to tend to think that you kind of write a book and then it either succeeds or not.
yeah.
Whereas, so I'd love to hear more about what you mean by that and why that's the case.
Just uh, okay. Again, this notion of writing more than one book, people have to love you. If people read one of your books and they love it, it's an opportunity to build a community around that book. So, and if you keep doing that, you will inevitably build a community. And indeed, I think two aspects, the two most important aspects of reading a book are, first of all, that you love reading it, and then you love sharing your passion for that book.
Mm,
So the challenge is to make your readers your best marketers
mm,
because they love sharing their passion for books. That's what books are all about. Just like
mm,
movies, it's all word of mouth.
mm,
And now today, because of technology, we have word of mouth.
mm,
So you have access to your readers' communities. That's fabulous.
mm,
They're becoming your best marketers. So, but you got to keep giving them what they want and staying in touch with them.
mm,
Sharing your passions, sharing your cats, sharing whatever you're interested in, and not just it's information you create and information that you share that you curate. So that's the key piece. There's a book called the Clue Train Manifesto, and one of its points is that markets are a conversation. So it's about this continuing conversation that you have your readers and them being engaged with you. It's not just about putting a whole bunch of numbers up on social media, and if they're not engaged with you, and editors and
mm,
agents will look at that, not just numbers, but what kind of conversations you're having with your readers.
mm.
That's important because these are the people who are passionate about you and your books and will buy whatever you're doing, classes, whatever. That's something we haven't been able to get to, but there's more ways to make money from your ideas, certainly with nonfiction than ever. I mean, that's another reason why it's the best time ever to be a writer.
And thank you, Michael. That's great. And I'm curious, what makes you say 3 books
Well,
specific?
not my idea. I
Yeah.
saw that online from a reliable source, and I don't remember the name of it, but
Yeah.
it's gone through the system. In fact, Don Moss, an editor in New York, an agent in New York, used to say it takes 5 books.
Mm,
So, and I think maybe the internet has speeded that up.
mm-hmm,
Um, again, this whole notion of community is so important. People need community more than ever. That's something that COVID proved. Uh,
mm-hmm,
and so that's not something, AI is transforming the industry, but I don't see how AI builds a community. It's
mm-hmm,
your personal connection with your readers. That's the crucial piece.
mm-hmm,
You give them what they want and they're yours for life. I mean, the example I use is Colleen Hoover. She's the perfect example of writing books that readers love and also being connected to them. She has like 2.5 billion views on TikTok, whatever. I mean, that's just phenomenal.
And
So
can you just tell everyone what kind of books does she write?
she writes young adult romances, new adult novels, uh,
Mm-hmm,
books for young people.
mm,
And that's the TikTok audience, which is her particular audience. It's not everybody's audience. And
mm-hmm,
that's true for TikTok in general. It skews young.
mm,
Uh, but she's a remarkable woman. She was born to do what she does. And she
mm,
started off, writing books in a trailer. Wasn't always able to pay all her bills. She started with nowhere and self-published her first books.
mm,
And then they just took on a life of their own.
mm,
This is a fundamental thing. You can't stop a book that delivers well enough from succeeding because of the internet. That's amazing. So it's unstoppable.
mm-hmm,
Write a book that your readers love, no matter who publishes it, whether you do it or Random House does it, whatever.
mm-hmm.
So that's certainly a key piece.
I love that. Write a book that your readers love, no matter who publishes it, and it'll be unstoppable. I love
Your
that.
future's assured, no question, no question. Readers want to love books. Let's be clear. They take the trouble to buy a book or get it from the library or whatever, but they want to read it, right? They want their investment in time. Time is the most
Hmm.
valuable asset we have. They don't want to waste it. And I must say that's a challenge for writers because I think a lot of readers are less patient than they might have been, certainly in the past. They,
Hmm.
if you're writing a book to entertain, then you need to start doing it on page one.
Right.
That's extremely important. So, well, but I'm happy to look at new writers' work, and it's just they haven't gotten there yet, and that takes craft and it takes early readers, which is something we should discuss at some point. So you have to make sure your work's 100% before you submit it to anybody,
Hmm.
or self-publish it. Either way,
Right. Either way,
yeah.
you've got to go right. You've got to meet even if you're self-publishing, you need to have the quality standards that would make it compelling to a traditional publisher as well.
Exactly. You'll need to get a developmental editor, a line editor, a copy editor, and a proofreader if you're going to be professional about it.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, certainly, if you only want to write one book, you got one book in you, and you want to get out, or you want to write different kinds of books, poetry, children's books, adult books, then you're certainly better off self-publishing. You don't build
Hmm.
a career. There's no three books that sell each other,
Hmm.
so you're better off self-publishing. But if
Hmm.
you want to write a series of books, it's about that balance that you want to achieve between writing for yourself and writing for the marketplace.
Hmm.
If you'll be happy earning no money just writing what you want to write, well, that's wonderful. You can write whatever you want. You don't have to worry about it.
Hmm.
It's how successful you want to be as a writer, and what the expectations for those kinds of writers are.
Hmm.
So it's kind of balancing writing for yourself and writing for the marketplace.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people hear that and they're like, "Oh, well, are we selling out writing just for the masses?" But I tend to think of it as more of a conversation. As a writer, you're constantly engaging with the world and the people around you and trying to play your role in that conversation.
Well, okay, yes. I mean, the first thing I've got these superpowers I think that writers have, and the first one of them is make your writing a labor of love. I mean, that's really hugely important. You got to love what you're doing. It's your life.
Mm-hmm.
You want readers to love your work, so you have to put your love into it. That's irresistible and contagious.
Mm.
So it's not like giving up your soul to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I would recommend. You want to
Mm-hmm.
balance writing what you love and what readers love to read if you want to be
Mm.
successful.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I can relate to that personally because I do many things, but I also ghostwrite for people, which means I will write a book for someone else.
Yeah,
It gets published under the name. It's their ideas or their story,
yeah.
and I find that I fall in love with that project.
Oh, but that's
And
wonderful.
and
Good.
that's how it works for me. That's the only way it is successful is if I find a way to, even if I don't start off that way, I find a way to really engage with the writing and I love it. I just love the idea of telling a story for someone, even if I never get personal credit for it. Um,
Well,
and that comes through.
yeah, sure. I mean, this notion of stories, human beings are fundamentally storytelling creatures. I mean,
Hmm.
imagine in the caves 70,000 years ago, people sitting around a fire hearing stories, right, of
Hmm.
the hunt or whatever.
Hmm.
So we need stories. Barry Lopez, the writer, once said, sometimes a person needs a story more than food to stay alive. And indeed, I think one of the big challenges in the world right now is we need a new story uh, that unites us, that overcomes the beliefs that separate us. We don't
Hmm.
have that story yet, and we need it badly. So the
Hmm.
world is open to those stories. Any stories that brings people together,
Hmm.
that makes us appreciate that we're all members of the human family,
Hmm.
and we need each other. I don't remember who said it. Somebody said, we may have arrived on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. I mean, that's a crucial thing to keep in mind when you're writing.
Hmm.
At their best, books should be a service to their readers,
Hmm.
for them to appreciate things, understand things, people, and situations. And um, so, I mean, that's one of the great opportunities writers have. I think the greatest opportunity they have is to do books that are going to make the world better.
Hmm.
That's the thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, you had mentioned your superpowers and um, you had told me, so you're right, you have written and or writing a new book, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And can I talk about that?
I don't know if I can, but you can. Yes.
Well, so because you shared it with me, writing success guaranteed,
Yeah, right.
10 superpowers for creating a career, which I
Right,
thought is a compelling. And I would you be willing to share a little bit about the superpowers? I mean, you already talked about one, which is writing is a labor of love,
right.
and that being kind of first and foremost. But I'd be maybe you could share a little bit more.
Well, the second one is having goals that you're committed to achieving. And I spoke about goals,
Mm-hmm.
but commitment's a really important part of that. Uh, to succeed today, writers have to do more and know more than ever. But the good news is there's more ways to learn what you need to know than ever. I mean, there's a ton of stuff, free stuff on the internet and offline. There's writers' organizations. There's all kinds of ways to learn and to become part of the literary community. I mean, as writers, you're part of the community of the book. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows and cares about reading and writing, and that's wonderful. So you want to be as involved with that community as possible. Every field, for example, whether it's histories or mysteries, has its own combination of events, organizations, media, influencers, and practitioners. And certainly at big and mid-sized houses, they want writers who are involved with both with the literary community and with their field.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is craft. Um, so you know, every word's got to be right. Um, every word's an audition for the next word.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, because of I think in part because of the speed of technology, people expect increasingly instant gratification. So I think they're
Mm-hmm.
less willing to give books the chance they need.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just so funny. A friend sent me this cartoon that shows a woman reading a book saying to her husband, "I can't tell if I like this book or not. I'm only reading the top 3 lines of each page." So,
Right,
um,
that's how people do it, right? Even
well, but I 3 writers have come up to me and said, "I go into a bookstore, I pick up a novel, I read the first line, and if it doesn't excite me, I put it back." And the 3 writers have told me that. So, but it depends on the kind of. If you're writing literary work, then that's different. That people, I think, are more patient. It's more about style, craft,
mm-hmm.
um, and the vision of the book. It's the nature of what you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, four is making the world aware of yourself, and that's building communities.
Mm-hmm.
It's building your credibility and your brand, and that's really important. Rusty Sheldon, as a publicist, says you should create a personal brand, a brand built around yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have a website with your name on it or some variation of it, if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's yours, and just everything you put on there is yours. You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get as many people as come to your site as possible.
Mm-hmm.
All the things you own, your blog, your promotional assets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important. And make yourself visible online by just contributing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, contributing to blogs in your field,
Mm-hmm.
offering to write posts, offering to have people post on your blog if you're doing one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stephanie Chandler, who runs the Nonfiction Authors Association, a wonderful group for nonfiction writers. So she says you should have like 1 to 3 primary foundational content forms of content:
Mm-hmm.
blog, website, YouTube, something that you enjoy doing, and that's a key piece about
Mm-hmm.
communicating with people. It's got to be something that you enjoy doing and can do well, and can do consistently, and can do creatively.
Mm-hmm.
It'll become apparent if that's not the case. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
can I say something on that, Michael? You
please,
know,
yeah,
because we talk to people all day long who come to us and they want to help promote their books and grow their platform, et cetera. And a lot of people have been told, hey, just do social media, you
yeah,
know, and I always tell people, well, you have to find the thing you like to do. If you
yeah,
like to write, maybe you'll write articles. If you like to get on video and just kind of do what you and I are doing and talk to people,
sure,
maybe that's what you need to do.
right,
But whatever it is, you have to love it. Otherwise, you won't, like you said, it won't be apparent, but you also won't have the energy to sustain it.
right.
Um, because you have to keep going for a long time and you have to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, again, there's more ways to reach readers than ever. People have
Yeah.
become very successful with newsletters, for example. So there's different kinds of things. So we're sitting here trying to give one size fits all advice, but the reality, every writer's a writer and every writer's different. Every book's a book and every book is different. So you have to put together, you got to trust your instincts and your common sense and do whatever makes sense to you, regardless of what anybody, including me, says. It's got to work for you consistently over the long term. And that's a fundamental way to look at your future. You got to look at over the long term. It's a long term kind of thing. Seth Godin's a very well-known blogger and best-selling author. He says the best time to start promoting a book is 3 years before it comes out. So, if you're building a community of fans and you're improving your writing and getting ready to get published, it can take a while. It depends on what you're writing and how much you bring to it initially.
Mm.
If you're starting out as a journalist, then you've got a head start on writers who are just learning their craft. So it depends on the situation, what you're writing.
Mm. That's beautiful.
So, and the fifth one is collaboration. Publishing and writing are team sports. You may sit in front of a computer and just write by yourself, but that's the only part of it you have to do alone. I mean, it's crucial that you get feedback as you write from a writing group, either when you start or when you join, through Meetup, or there's different ways to find bookstores, libraries. Shut Up and Write's a group that gets together at different places. And there's more ways to connect with writers than ever. I mean, on and off. So that's wonderful.
Mm.
So as you write, you want feedback, and then after you finish writing, I think it's essential to build a community of three kinds of readers. Start not now. Don't wait till you finish writing, but you want readers who know writing and give you feedback just on the writing, even if they're not experts on the kind of book you're writing. You want feedback from people who are experts on the kind of book you're writing, published authors or teachers, or maybe if you can get a bookstore or librarian, whatever. And most important of all, potential book buyers. Who are the people in terms of the range of age and sex and interests that you want to buy the book? Try it out on that range of people. So to make sure it works. One of the reasons the Chicken Soup books work is that they had a panel of 40 readers who would grade every story on a scale of 1 to 10, and they would just use the 9.5s and 10s. So maybe you should consider having readers grade your work on a scale of 1 to 10, every moment of impact on the work as a whole. You got to make sure it works, and that's good, and that's free. Okay, you have the opportunity now, in part because of the internet, of making sure your books work before you put them out into the world. Hello, that's the way it should be. And agents and editors can tell instantly whether how well something is crafted or conceived. And indeed, I mean, it's one of the reasons why query letters really have to be spot on if you're approaching a publisher. They may not get past the first line. There's an obvious mistake in it. So whatever you submit's got to be impeccable. And then 6 is keep publishing books. I mentioned that we discussed before doing 3 books. So, but you got to keep putting them out. Maybe it's more than that. It can depend on you and the book and whatever. But the point is, you're looking at this as a long-term thing, and you're building a backlog, an inventory. So these books can keep selling on the web if you control them. They're on there, they're selling, and you'll keep attracting new writers to them, new readers to them, and sell more books to new readers. This is all good. You're building your own backlist. They'll keep selling. And if you're successful enough, agents and editors will find you, or you can always sell to them if you want, or maybe have an imprint at a publishing house, whatever. 7, what's 7? 7 is, 8 is having a business.
Sharing your passion for the value of your book.
Hello, what was he thinking? So the publication of a book is an opportunity for you to make friends and gather new fans. And you do that by just communicating. If one of the key things about having a book published is you want to be ready for that opportunity. So let's be clear, there's 4 million books published a year. Amazon does over 1 million of them. So making your way through that is extremely difficult. And for anybody, for big houses as well. So you want to be ready for that. You want to be able to, on publication, for example, and publishers try to give books a head start by generating as many sales as possible on publication when books in stores and reviews start to appear. So you want to be as visible as many ways as possible on publication. And that's not a faucet you turn on because you need it. You have to build it over time. You have to be ready to take advantage of the opportunity of publication. At big houses, if something doesn't sell in a week or two, they're liable to just go on to the next book.
Mhm.
But again, this should be something that you enjoy doing. It's an opportunity to meet new people
Mhm.
and create long-term relationships.
Mhm.
Eight is developing a business that supports your writing. So again, I spoke before about writers controlling everything, but I think it's important to think of yourself, even if you don't do it all yourself, to think of yourself as a business person running a business, um, and have goals for it, and don't sacrifice your values to reach your goals, but to have a business that ideally makes you enough income to free you to write. Again, nonfiction writers have more opportunities than novelists do. I mean, they can sell their work in more different ways, as books, as workbooks, um, as videos, as audios. There's more different.
Courses,
Sorry?
consulting. Yeah. No,
Exactly.
courses,
Yeah,
consulting, workshops, speaking.
uh,
Yeah.
online and
Yeah.
off. So, but even so, if you're a novelist, if you can teach about how to write or do something in your particular field, uh, um, help writers like yourself write and get published, whether it's fantasies or whatever. I mean, that's a way to earn income and build your readership at the same time.
Mm.
So all the things you do to make money are also promoting you,
Mm.
and again, it's all filtering through an ever more powerful website.
Mm.
And nine, I just changed since you saw that listserv.
Oh, okay, good.
Now be your best self. And there's three ways to do that. One is to find balance between your personal and professional life. And that's really important. Your career should be fulfilling for you.
Mm.
And so you need to balance your personal and professional life. And you also want to serve the community of the book. Think of how you can be of help to your
Mm.
literary community by participating in events or creating an event, which also promotes you and your work.
Mm.
And last, writing books that can make a difference. I spoke about that before. And the 10th one, the last one, is find joy in your journey. That's important. You're entitled to have a good time and to celebrate little things like a good review or your work being accepted, getting praise from people, sales. So you should celebrate that. That's really important. The celebrations will help keep you going.
Mm.
So, those are the superpowers, and you make them unique. They're uniquely yours because of the devotion, the commitment that you bring to them, because of your skill, your gifts, your ability to write and communicate. So only you have that set of unique ways of exercising, developing your superpowers.
Mm.
So that makes them uniquely yours.
Mm.
So
Well, Michael, that is so beautiful. And it's what I what I love about talking to you is it's just like my experience of reading your book. You have this tremendous sense of optimism and realism woven into one. And you're not BSing people when you say you can be a successful writer, which is but you're also very realistic about how challenging that can be and the real commitment that it takes to make that happen. You got to kind of be one-pointed about it. But again, talking to you, reading your books, you really do see that there's a pathway there for anybody who really wants to do it. Um, and
absolutely.
that's amazing.
Um, well, but in a way it reflects what's going on in other creative fields. More and more different kinds of creative people are taking their work into their own hands. In fact, somebody mentioned Taylor Swift to me the other day, how she owns her old stuff and recycles it and does it whatever. So, but because of the internet, creative people, artists, musicians, whatever, are doing their own thing online, and this is all wonderful. So and publishing, by the way, has fared better in the what's happening with the internet and the web than other industries. I mean, music certainly had far greater challenges, but the publishing goes on. People still want books,
Mhm.
and it's a great time to be doing what you're doing.
Mm.
So yeah,
Well, so I, I, I have two last questions for
yeah,
you.
please.
One, both quite simple. So the first one is, you know, for people who want more of you in their life, what would you recommend is the one thing they can do for that? What would be the number one thing you'd tell people to do if they want to engage more with you?
Gluttons of punishment. Well, I guess they can write to me at EPML, 4 letters, Edward Paul Michael Larsen, EPML at AOL.com, the Geezer ISP.
Okay.
Um, there's a website for my coaching service.
Okay.
Um, but I'm happy to answer questions. People can just contact me if they have questions
Great.
and point them in the right direction.
And we'll share a link associated with this
Okay.
interview that'll have a link to your website and everything.
Okay. Great. Great.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, then so then my last question would be, you've basically just been giving us gold nuggets of advice for the last half hour. What would be kind of your parting piece of advice for someone who's an aspiring author?
An editor named John Dodds used to give this advice to writers. He used to say, if anything can stop you from becoming a writer, let it. If nothing can stop you, do it and you'll make it. That's truer than ever. Best time to be a writer.
I love that.
Okay.
That is a great parting note. So, Michael, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been an honor to get to know you the last few weeks, and I'm really really glad we had a chance to talk. And I'm hoping that lots of people will gain a lot of insight and confidence and inspiration from this. So,
Good. Well, as the Indian proverb has it, what is not given is lost.
mm,
True for writers too.
mm,
So,
beautiful.
thank you very much for inviting me.